level, we get together, discuss all the associates and their ratings. As an example, it's a scale of essentially 1 to 5, 5 being the best, 1 being you're probably going to be terminated in the near future. You discuss, like, so if I were to give one of my associates a 4, what is that behavior, what does that performance look like versus another manager who gave a person a 4? And sometimes the people are just lit up or down based on that perception. I've been in plenty of those meetings where someone will be like, I rate this associate a 4 or 5, and I'll be like, I completely disagree. Here's X, Y, and Z, and then we have very not strict, but like clear definitions of what kind of behavior a 5 or a 4 or 3 or whatever exemplifies the organization or a performance standpoint and future growth potential.
Great.
So calibration / succession planning are pretty much the same conversation.
Great. So the last question about ratings is, do you feel that and we kind of touched on this earlier, do you feel that your supervisor has visibility into your performance to rate you accurately?
Yeah, I do. I mean, yes. I mean, she's pretty involved with yes and no. Right now, yes. In the past, no. It sort of changes depending on what job I have, frankly. Right now, my boss is very involved with my work because we're sort of working on the same project together, which is a global project. So like she's pretty, her and I work very closely because it's sort of divide and conquer kind of thing. So yeah, we do. I will tell you that in the past that it hasn't always been the case. But as I've sort of continued to reach more elevated positions, I'm generally closer in line with my boss versus more strategic versus executional, and that has made it easier to align and have my boss have a more distinct understanding of my performance.
Great.
Or it gives me more control in influencing their perspective.
More control. So aside from money and or promotion, what do you want to get out of performance management?
The formal process?
Yes.
Honestly, and I'm not trying to bang on this, I really don't care about it. Like I've said to you before, frankly, I see. I mean, I understand the need for it. So don't get me wrong there. It's like, why do I need to get a flu shot or an immunization? Because it's good it's good for the greater good, for the common, and to make sure those guardrails are in place for everyone in the organization, a base standard, if you will. But I frankly, a lot of times see it as cumbersome and more of a I don't know how I say this, more of a I don't know, like something you just have to get through versus having it be value added. It's like it's more work, and it's more work that I think, like, if you're a good associate and a good manager, like I sort of mentioned a couple of times, you should already be having these conversations on a regular basis, right? So I think that if you're doing that, this process, other than a formalized way to make sure that I understand what my bonus targets are, is just really a huge pain. And I think that I'm not sure if that's a function of HR putting it in place, because I'm relatively certain most people feel that way, that have already built a network of feedback, if you will. But I do think there's a need for it. I just think it can be overly cumbersome sometimes. Yeah.
And I mean, not to take us off track, but that's exactly why what I'm trying to explore is what can we get rid of? What is actually the best kind of bang for your buck if you are, people spend so much time on performance management throughout the year, and that's money.
Yeah.
So what is the best use of our time? So I'm going to switch gears a little bit and talk about your supervisor, your manager. I keep flipping those terms. It looks like you've worked with your current manager for 1 to 3 years. How long exactly?
Well, I've been working with her for 3+ years as on a similar project. I've only been formally reporting to her since November 1st, but I've worked with her for a long time before that.
Cool. So how would you describe that relationship?
Good, strong. she selected me for this global role. So she's aware of my I guess skills, my strengths. So it's good. We've got a set meeting. I mean, despite the fact it's a virtual relationship, we see each other at least in person once a month, I would say. I'm either in Europe or she's here. So I'm actually seeing her next week, but we have a formalized sort of one-on-one every Monday morning for an hour to discuss open work issues, and then just catch up. So like that's something that's important to me. I actually initiated the conversation just to make sure that we had the time held. Because like I said, I think that part of the cultural issue is like just the way that the people conduct themselves in France versus the U.S. Like I want to make sure that I'm clear on her expectations because I'm not entirely sure she would be clear with me, or I want to just make sure there's no issues. And obviously, we both are native speakers of the different languages, so trying to make sure that we can connect and that we're on the same page is important to me.
Mm-hmm. Great. So that makes a lot of sense. And just kind of coming back to a question that I've asked earlier, but is this something that it sounds like that's something that you've done consciously, and that you've is that something that you've driven with her because of that, or is it something that is kind of a two-way street in that way?
I think it's mostly coming from me, but she certainly would be like that. It's like, hey, can you talk? She'd be like, yeah, no problem. It's more both of us are extremely busy, so it's more just having the time held on our calendars than anything. Like anytime I've been on call or whatever, plus, she's 7 hours ahead of me. So just making sure that we have specific time dedicated to have a conversation is more about it. We don't always meet every week, but generally we have something to talk about for at least like 10 minutes,
Mm-hmm. Sure. So let's talk a little bit about your team. Can you tell me more about the actual makeup of your team and who, like, even where they are as well?
So my team, I don't have any direct reports. I've got a dotted line responsibility for about 25 people that report into me, which is nice because I don't have to do any of the review stuff other than informal feedback. I'm the only one based in the United States. The team is primarily in Paris, Milan, Italy, and then India in Bangalore. So it's
and how many people kind of throughout?
I'm sorry, what's that?
I said how many people, which was exactly what you're about to say.
Oh, yeah, I was going to say, so 25 people, 5 in India, 11 in Italy, and 9 in France.
Cool. And kind of range of roles, or what's the kind of level of type of people that are on your team?
All middle management and above.
Okay.
But a range of role from IT to business to functional consultants.
Cool. Thank you for that. And how would you describe the relationship that you have with your team?
Pretty strong. I mean, one way that I gauge, and this might not be entirely true, but like I've got a good feeling. I think I've got a good read on interpersonal stuff. So like we joke around, like we talk about our families, like we go out to for a drink or whatever after work when we're all together. So like I do believe that it's a relatively good, solid bond, and sort of comfortably reaches over the edge of a business relationship into a little bit personal, to the sort of, ability to connect with each other. So I'd say it's relatively strong. I mean, obviously there's one or two examples of where I'd say not exactly the case, but there's always the one or two. So
great. So would you say in your team that you feel that you can speak freely without kind of fear of retribution?
Yeah, for the most part. I guess I'm one level away from C-suite, so like I got to be careful what I say, but generally speaking, I feel pretty comfortable with everything. Yeah.
Okay. So we're getting close to being done, just so you know. So want to think about your organization a little bit, and I've been switching up how I've been asking this question, so I'm going to just go out and ask it, and if you need any kind of context or anything like that, let me know. But